Welcome to Bradley J. Travel. Today it's Venice. We splurged and took a private water taxi from the airport, which in this case was a good thing because our flights had been rerouted. There was an extra connection. It was kind of a nightmare. Dropped our stuff off at the hotel and went right to this beautiful little restaurant. It had scallops and a couple of other dishes. There were only about 6 tables here, and it was very, very busy. There are good restaurants in Venice. It's not famous for its food, but it's there. See those steps, those bridges? There are lots of those, and that's why you don't take a roller case. I really recommend you go backpack only unless you're willing to hire somebody to deliver your luggage to wherever you're going. Remember, no cars. There are water taxis, yes. Here's a view from the first hotel, and that's where the water taxi pulls up. You just pull up right to the back there and get on that ramp. Here's breakfast, beautiful breakfast view of the canal. I recommend you don't go in the summertime ever. It's hot. It's smelly. Just don't do it. This is Cicchetti at Cantina du Mori, which is said to be the most ancient tavern in all of Venice. We'll talk more about Cicchetti later. This is an interesting place because it is on the tour group route. As you sit there, you see small tour groups come in. But it's also frequented by locals. Again, I can only imagine it would be way too crowded in the summertime. Another reason not to go is the competition for everything, for lodging, for restaurant seats, etc. Now, you can go to a lot of cities and see intermittent, beautiful architecture, but I've never been anywhere that had this kind of uninterrupted ancient architectural beauty. You can go for a long walk and walk a long time and not see a modern, ugly building. There are very few. Even these are pretty old. This is the Jewish Quarter. That's Shannon, my travel partner, and more. She loves to hang around with the Pidgeys. And look at that interested little girl in the background. She wants to get involved with the pigeons. We had plenty of hand sanitizer for after pigeon time. Last time we were here, we went to a little tailor shop called Patience and was happy to see it was still here and open, because I was looking forward to maybe getting some pants made. I got this coat last time. If you want to know how to get there, well, Danielle is going to tell you right now.
So we were in the Sestiera of Castello. That's still a pretty residential area. And the street name is Calle Leon. And it's really close to the Scuola dei Dalmati. That's an amazing place to visit as well if you haven't been inside. And
that's the coat I got last time. This time, I asked her to make me a pair of pants, and she did in 4 days. They were great. They were made out of some fine Italian wool, and they fit. That's the thing about having a tailor. She's my tailor. Pretty far away, though. There's a view from the hotel. And this is kind of a ballroom in that hotel that I showed you before, and the ramp that is used to come to the hotel and leave. Here we have St. Mark's. I spent a lot of time paying attention to the front of it, and there's so much going on. There's so much history right there. It is a bit mind-blowing. It's difficult to grasp the history involved with this building here. Look at the hodgepodge of different columns. This was built to be an extension of the Doge's palace, but it didn't end up that way. And construction began in the 800s. And it ended up being a home for the body of St. Mark, which was moved from Alexandria to Venice. I'm not sure if they included the head. I think it might actually be just the body. And over time, of course, like most buildings, this basilica underwent lots of modifications. And I got to tell you, it's really worth it to go to the museum that's upstairs. Really, really, really steep stairs. And I'll tell you my favorite thing in the museum are these horses. Let me give you a brief history of these ancient routes, likely Roman, created as part of a 4-horse chariot quadriga. And then they stood atop the Hippodrome in Constantinople. And then the Venetians got them in 1204 during the Fourth Crusade. They sacked, believe it or not, Constantinople, brought them back to Venice, and they put them on top of the entrance, over the entrance to the Basilica. And then there was a time when Napoleon took them to Paris, where they adorned the Arc de Triomphe. Did you know that? The Arc de Triomphe du Carrousel. But later, after Napoleon was beaten, they came back to Venice. They sat over the entrance to St. Mark's for like 600 years before Napoleon took them to Paris. The story of those horses is extremely impressive. We just went through there's a hotel room from the outside, doesn't look like much, but it was right on the canal. There is somewhere in that procession, there's the Olympic torch. Now this is, I think, the only existing gondola boat yard where they fix gondolas, and right across is a place where you can get really good Cicchetti. Very imaginative here at El Squero. Cicchetti is the Venetian equivalent of tapas, really. Sometimes bread is the base, mostly bread, and sometimes polenta, topped with all kinds of stuff, and we'll see some of those toppings later. This is the Church of Zaccaria, which is my second favorite church anywhere, and it has really impressive art, and that's why I love it so much. Especially the altarpiece, the Giovanni Bellini altarpiece. And speaking of Bellinis, this is Harry's Bar, where the drink the Bellini was invented. Shannon and I went there, very expensive, $22 for one drink. But the staff was so cool, it was so high class. It was one and done, and it was worth it. This is a random seafood restaurant. Sometimes it's fun to just go in any old restaurant rather than track down something that you saw online. You get lucky a lot of times. Just avoid restaurants that have somebody standing outside trying to get you in. If they were really good, they wouldn't need that. And avoid restaurants that have pictures in plastic outside of the food. Avoid that. I've never been in a gondola. I've been in one, but I've never gone on a gondola ride. Here's the Basilica Santa Maria della Salute. And this is a famous view of it from the wooden footbridge. And here's the interior. Here's a little refreshment stop. They're all over the place. One and done kind of place. And here's our favorite Baccaro. A Baccaro is a little wine bar. Baccaro Ibricoi. That was one of the reasons we went back to Venice. There's Andreas. He, besides being a bartender, makes this Cicchetti. And that's the reason it's so spectacular, because he knows what he's doing. These are $3.75, which is more than they are at some places, but they're more substantial and they're heated. They're warm. Some of them are anyway. It's in the Cannaregio district. And if you go to order a spritz, do not order an Aperol spritz. If you want to really kind of be like a local, order a Select spritz, because Select is a replacement for Aperol that's made in Venice. Also, you might want a little Campari splash on the top. I include these wonderful photos because I want you to know what it's like off-season. No crowds. It's basically yours. And stay away from the Rialto Bridge. What do you suppose this guy's selling? He was selling hot wine. Well, time to go home. Check this out. It's the walk from the room in the hotel, past the lobby, through the lobby, past the desk, right onto the water taxi on a ramp on a rainy day, and then back to the airport. Expensive? Yep, it was a splurge. But, boy, we don't regret it. Look how happy Shannon is to be in her private water taxi. Speaking of Shannon, thank you to Shannon for planning this entire trip. She is fantastic at it, and it makes it so easy for me. And thank you to Adam Silver for doing the soundtrack, the guitar soundtrack to this video. Thank you so much, Adam. If you like the video, please subscribe, share, rate. You know what to do.